And welcome back to the Hot Lap, a very special Hot Lap. We are ranking the 2023 drivers from the absolute worst to the absolute best. No prizes for guessing who may well be the best, but I think before that, there may well be a few prizes, a few controversial opinions. I mean, this is all kind of subjective based on some stats, I guess, but even that you may well disagree with. So let's get into it. Who was the worst driver of the year? Well, that worst driver of the year is going to go to Logan Sargent. Oh, Logan. Now, why Logan Sargent? Well, he was in the Williams. It was, to be fair, one of the slower cars. However, compared to his teammate, he did absolutely terrible. He had lots of chances, more chances than number 21, funny enough. And he just wasn't very good. I don't think he was very good. I was quite surprised that Williams even resigned the guy. And he made mistakes. When he had the fast car in Abu Dhabi, he got his laps deleted. You know, he potentially had a fast car. He scored that 1 point just down to people being disqualified. Yes, hooray, he scored that 1 point. But compared to Alex, he was absolutely, nowhere. He didn't get all those updates. But still, Logan Sargent, the worst driver, in our opinion, of 2023. Who is the second worst driver, though, of 2023? It is this guy here. Yes, I think he's a lot of people's worst. But I do feel, yes, he did have a worse record than Logan Sargent. But I don't think he got given maybe a fair crack at the whip. He's a lot better, I think, than his F1 showed, so to speak. But that's by the by, isn't it? We're looking at 2023. I think, though, he was still better than Logan Sargent. He made less mistakes than Logan Sargent throughout his tenure there, I feel. And Logan Sargent, the worst. I'm so sorry, Mr. Logan Sargent. But there we go. Nick de Vries. Who is going to be number 20, though? Well, drum roll. Oh, my gosh. I know. Don't hate me, guys. So, yes, he finished second in the standings on 285 points. Yes, he won 2 races. He got 2 poles. But, and this is the but, we can't celebrate the fact that this guy came second. He made so many mistakes. When you look at the amount of times he even came into Q3, it was embarrassing. Bearing in mind this guy had the second fastest car. Yes, Sergio Perez. He is, 3 from the bottom, the 20th worst or 20th best, whatever way you want to look at it, if you're an optimist, driver in Formula 1 in 2023. Best car. Yes, he finished second. Yes, he won a race, but embarrassingly so. So many mistakes, so many chances that I think the only reason he got re-signed for 2024 was because I can't feel that Red Bull hadn't really assessed Ricciardo enough. They didn't have faith in Tsunoda. Lawson was too new, so to speak, and they did not have, I think, enough data on anyone, and it was kind of like the devil at that point. But to celebrate second, so many points, so many behind Max Verstappen. I think at one point he was closer to 0 than he was Max in the points. Now, a lot of people are going to say, okay, the car wasn't, the car's developed away from him, which I kind of get in a way. However, ultimately, over the course of a season, even if the car develops away from you, it might have a disadvantage for your teammate. You're still a racer, you're still a driver, and you still shouldn't be, half a second sometimes slower than your teammate. And also, he made loads of mistakes for a driver of his supposed caliber. And I do think Sergio Perez is a good driver. He made far too many mistakes, did Mr. Perez. So I'm so sorry, Sergio. You did not do very well this year, despite your wins. But into 19th, and who is going to be number 19? I think it's Sergio Perez's friend. No big surprise here then. Lance Stroll. Yes, he got a fair few points, but qualified third. His highest finish was 4th. But we cannot forget this guy. They had the best car at the beginning of the season. Let's say for the first quarter of the season. But Lance Stroll, didn't get on the podium. He was nowhere near his teammate. And I think you can solely put him to blame for his team finishing below McLaren in the standing, because it certainly wasn't Fernando Alonso. Yes, he had his hand. I mean, the season began heroically, driving, with a broken hand still that hadn't really completely healed. I mean, we know how long Danny Ricciardo, albeit, yes, it was a bit different, had to recover from his broken hand. So fair play, and we thought this is going to be really good. But when the car was good, he was just a bit meh. But he had a few highs. I mean, he had a few solid races, and then came Qatar. Yes, then came Qatar, where he ended up pushing his trainer. Yes, the pressure was getting to him. He shouldn't have done it. He gave that really bad interview. Should Lance Stroll be in Formula One? I don't think so. If you were part of the Aston Martin board, would you really be signing Stroll for another year based on this year? I don't think you would. Even compared to Fernando Alonso, okay, you may not have a team that's going to be as fast as him, but if you're looking on the screen is, in my opinion, the reason Aston Martin fell behind McLaren. Sorry. But there we go, Lance Stroll. See you later. Okay, in number 18, we have got Zhou Guanyu. I think he did a fairly solid. Not as good. I think he was outshined by Bottas. He got a fastest lap. He finished 5th. Was his highest qualifying. 9th was his highest finish. It was a fairly solid job for Zhou, but I think a lot of time, one of the problems with the Alfa Romeos, is they were just kind of anonymous, really. A bit meh, I think. So, but unlike Stroll, I get why Alfa Romeo re-signed him for another year. So, 17. Danny Rick, okay. Part of the reason is it was really hard to assess him. He did absolutely fantastic in Mexico. I mean, his best qualifying was 4th. His highest finish was 7th at the Mexican Grand Prix. However, other than Mexico, overall, he was outshined, really, by Tsunoda, which is why it's funny, ironically, 17th in the standings and 17th in our 2023 drivers list. He just didn't do as good as I thought he would do, if I'm honest. Everyone thought he was going to blow Tsunoda away. He didn't, which is really, a good thing for Tsunoda when you think about it. So 17th for Danny Rick. Next year, it almost feels like, at AlphaTauri or whatever their car's going to be called, team's going to be called next year, only one is going to survive that, I feel. I think many hope it's going to be Danny Rick, but Tsunoda has really upped his game, I feel, this year. So Danny Rick, I think it was solid, but I think because of his hand injury, inconclusive is probably what I would like to say to Danny Rick. And also, there we go, 16th, Mr. Magnussen, Kevin Magnussen, again, kind of sort of anonymous sometimes. Yes, he qualified 4th. His highest finish was 10th, but kind of like what he ended up doing to Mick Schumacher, Nico Hulkenberg did to Magnussen. Completely outshined him, other than a few races, albeit it was the Haas, a car which qualified really well, but then it completely ate its tyres like an all-you-can-eat buffet on tyres when it was lights out on the Sunday. Fairly solid. I don't think there's any reason for Haas not to re-sign him for the coming year, but kind of anonymous, really, if I'm honest. And speaking about almost anonymous at times, but still like anonymously solid, I want to say, for Valtteri Bottas. His best qualifying, 7th highest finish, 8th. He did do better than Zhou in the standings. A solid job by Bottas, but you can't help but feel he did such a good job in 2023 that Audi are licking their lips, thinking this is our guy that's going to lead us from 2026. So I feel he needs a solid 2024 for his average 2023. There were times when he qualified really well, and he just was classic Bottas. Got an average start. There weren't times when we saw him being really aggressive or really defensive, as just like his Mercedes days when he just let people through. How many times in 2021 did he let Max Verstappen through? And I think that's the kind of Bottas we've got now in the Alfa Romeo. But it's going to be interesting again next year, kind of like the AlphaTauri. I can't help but feel that in 2024 only him or Zhou are going to survive. Goodness knows who's it going to be. Who knows? But there we go. Next, 14th, we have Liam Lawson. Yeah, one of the sensations of the 2023 season. Okay, best qualifying 10th, highest finished 9th, but he was thrust into the limelight at the Dutch Grand Prix after Danny Ricciardo broke his hand, and he did not embarrass himself. Yes, Tsunoda was faster. Yes, Tsunoda overall did better, but you can't blame it. Tsunoda's got all that experience, and he's no slouch. But I think with all that pressure, Liam Lawson really stamped his foot down on that AlphaTauri seat. And yes, he's the reserve. He's a reserve driver for next year. But I think if Sergio Perez doesn't do well, and one of the two AlphaTauri drivers get the bump up to Red Bull, so to speak, he has a seat for. He's got a seat for 2024 then, and I think he's guaranteed himself a seat unless something crazy happens next year for 2025, based on that select few races where he knew the pressure must have been tremendous. He knew he had to do really well. It's just the only reason why he's a bit further down is simply because it was quite difficult to assess on a few races, but those few races I think were pretty much really overall really, really good. So well done to Liam Lawson there. I mean, fantastic, I think, for a rookie. Next, though, is going to be, let's see, 13th. Unlucky for some. Hopefully not for this man here, Nico Hulkenberg. So this time last year, we kind of guessed that Hulkenberg, I think he may have been confirmed at Haas. Instead of Mick Schumacher, a lot of people criticised it. I do think he's proven his doubters right. He's proven that he was potentially a better pick than Mick Schumacher. Less mistakes. Up there in the Haas, the strongest of the Haas drivers, I think, overall is okay. His highest qualifying was 5th. His highest finishing position was 7th. But constantly beating Kevin Magnussen, which is exactly what he needed to do. Constantly beating Kevin to the point where he was ended up being in the talk of, there were rumours of him replacing Perez at Red Bull. There were rumours of him being one of the Audi drivers as well, or going to another team. And to the point where he kind of, despite not having a drive, the previous year, and maybe not even being thought about having a drive at points in 2022 in the Haas, he's resurrected, I think, his career, and he's done really well. So I think if he continues that, it's going to be really interesting where he's going to go once his Haas contract ends up, because I think if that Haas car is not good next year, he's gone. But really, really solid, I feel, for Nico Hulkenberg. But you're going to have to go now, Hulkenberg, because we need to speak about number 12. So, number 12. Yes, it is, drumroll, Gasly or Ocon. Well, it's Ocon, who I felt was outshined by Gasly. I mean, this is the guy that has been he's been the stable of Alpine for a number of years now. And Gasly's come in, and I don't think Gasly embarrassed him as much, but I do think Gasly has shown he's more solid than him. There's not that much between them, and there wasn't really throughout most of the year. Both got podiums, for example. It's his highest finished 7th. My mistake. He got a podium, did Ocon, and I think Ocon had a solid year, as did Gasly. But I just felt he was overshadowed somewhat by Gasly. And talking about Gasly, in 11th, we have got Gasly, and he finished 11th in the standings, as well as highest finished being 3rd. So, he got that podium. Apologies for the wrong stat there on Ocon. He got that podium. His highest qualifying, I think, was 4th. And he had a really solid year. And it makes you wonder why didn't Red Bull take him over Sergio Perez? Because he is he's a solid driver. Is he world class? Is he a future world champion? I don't think so. Can he be a regular race winner, a Gerhard Berger, for example? Potentially, I think, given the right situation. But a solid year for Pierre Gasly. Next up, we're looking at 10th, and it's going to be the first of the Mercedes drivers. Yeah, he would have finished a lot higher up in 2022 had we been around doing our standings, but finishing 8th, only 2 podiums based on the last year when he did beat Lewis Hamilton. Yes, I know Lewis was trialling those car setups, But against Lewis, he looked a lot stronger than, for example, Valtteri Bottas did with Lewis, especially particularly in qualifying. In races, maybe not so much on a consistent basis. But I can't help but this year we had that mistake in Canada, that mistake in Singapore, unforced errors, so to speak, let's say, which were a bit embarrassing, really, and kind of like where we blamed Lance Stroll for Mercedes, for McLaren beating Aston Martin. You could definitely make an argument as to all the points lost by George Russell certainly didn't help their fight with Ferrari. Yes, he had a solid race at the end of Abu Dhabi, but I can't help but feel that he's the reason why maybe Mercedes were under pressure come the end of the year because of all his, the few of his mistakes. However, I still feel that Mercedes do have the best driver lineup for 2024. I think when you put these two together, they are the most talented, probably closely followed by maybe Ferrari and McLaren. Red Bull, they've only got Verstappen. When you look on the other side of the garage, you've got the guy that he finished second, but he's all the way down in 20th on our best driver standings. I think Russell needs a much better next year, though. I mean, you've got people coming up, like Kimi in the lower formulas. Yes, he's not. I don't think his seat is in danger for 2025. He's signed a 2-year contract, but I do feel he needs a better performance compared to Hamilton. But a fairly solid-ish job. I mean, he's 10th. He's kind of like in the middle, kind of like Gasly was. So, who is going to be number 9? Who made it into the top 10 as well as Russell? It's going to be this guy, Mr. Tsunoda. I think he had an absolutely tremendous year. Yes, he finished 14th, 17 points. He got a fastest lap. Best qualifying was 6th. Highest finish was 8th. But the solid guy at the AlphaTauri team, really, really good. And he has, although when he came in as a rookie, he didn't set the world alight, but people said he was going to be fast. Some people have argued he's there because of Honda. And there's been a suggestion that maybe because of that, he's going to go to Aston Martin at some point. But I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job. I don't feel other than that really silly area in Mexico that definitely cost AlphaTauri points when he tried to pass and forgot there were other people there. He did a solid job this year, and I don't really think you could have asked that much more of him. So Tsunoda in our top 10, but at 9th, who is going? So I've forgot to press the play button. Tsunoda, you're still here with us. You can now leave because we want to get who's going to be 8th, and it's this man, Carlos Sainz, who once again really solid job most of the time. Yes, he finished 7th. He was very close to Leclerc. They were a lot closer this year compared to last year in the points, and he's the only guy that beat Red Bull this year. So obviously he has to finish in our top 10. Why so far lower down? I do feel, given certain circumstances, that other people did better jobs. There were times where Sainz was not throughout most of the season, but there were races where he was just kind of anonymous. Like, what you're doing? Where is he? I can't help but feel some qualifying sessions and some races he just failed to turn up. And this is a guy who on his day is as good as Leclerc. On his day, he's beaten Leclerc as well. And Charles Leclerc is the Ferrari darling, isn't he? Going into the future, especially with those rumours at the time of recording of him re-signing that Ferrari deal, and there's and with the rumours of Carlos Sainz only be getting that 1-year contract, but now he wants a longer one, maybe a 2-year contract, and you have to wonder why Ferrari don't have that faith in him. So, and based on this year, he was solid. I think he drove better this year than he did last year, at the very least. So Carlos Sainz 8th, not bad, solid. Let's say solid, but who on earth is going to be 7th? Well, it's our first McLaren by Oscar Piastri. Yeah, 9th in the standings, 97 points. Yeah, we know Carlos Sainz beat him. 2 podiums. He won a sprint race, and what a sprint race that was, with Max Verstappen, basically hunting him down. But Piastri kept his cool in the race and essentially beat Verstappen, beat the Red Bull that was faster. Yes, it was a sprint race, but it was a victory of a race nonetheless, which wasn't easy. And Verstappen wanted to win because he wanted to win and be, he wanted to win as the new world champion, which didn't happen. Highest finished, I think, second, highest qualifying second. And he did outshine his teammate on occasion. However, when it came to the races, he wasn't as solid as Lando Norris, which is a shame. But I think for a rookie, people are saying best rookie year since Lewis Hamilton. I kind of agree. For that, I completely agree. Piastri, absolutely solid job there. Once again, like Tsunoda, I don't really think you could have asked anything more from Mr. Piastri. So let's see who's going to be sixth, and it's Alex Albon up there in the Williams. I think he outdrove the car. Yes, I know. I think Logan Sargent, you can make an argument, flattered him somewhat this year, but at times he was better than I think the car. Than the car. This is certainly a very different Albon that we saw in the AlphaTauri Toro Rosso, or even the Red Bull. He's really reinvented his career to the point where people are talking about whether he goes to Ferrari in replace of Sainz when Sainz's contract ends, which you never would have guessed based on the last 2 years, particularly this year. He was really solid. Qualifying fourth, his highest finish is seventh. The speed of that Williams certainly helped, but he had some fantastic defensive drives as well. I know James Vowles really appreciates it, appreciates him, and the whole team say how good he is and all his feedback, etc. And he's become a fantastic team leader as seen this year. So Alex Albon, one of, I think, the most underappreciated driver potentially of 2023. So we're into our top five. And who is fifth? It's this guy, Charles Leclerc. Yes, he did beat Carlos Sainz, not by much, but he did outshine his teammate, finishing fifth, 6 podiums, 5 poles. This guy is rapid. I mean, he had poles where potentially he shouldn't have had poles. He beat that Red Bull. Yes, the Red Bull was more designed for race trim, but the Red Bull, fastest car. You saw in practice. So at times he beat the Red Bull when maybe a lesser driver wouldn't have done. Arguably, I think this year, one of the most fastest drivers over one lap. Still made a few silly errors. I mean, even we saw in Las Vegas that lock-up under pressure from Perez. But he got Perez back. The only reason why I think he's a bit low down, you probably saw in our Leclerc video, if you haven't, go and watch it, is I can't help but feel that unlike at the moment, he's a bit of a level down to like your Alonso's, your Verstappen's, your Hamilton's, simply because I don't feel he's aggressive enough. On the day, when you need someone to win, when you need someone to make that move stick, or at least make a move, at the moment, I don't think Charles Leclerc is your man. He kind of proved that. The amount of time, the times that Verstappen squeezed him, I think in America, in COTA, Las Vegas, yeah, okay, there's nothing he could have done about that. But Abu Dhabi on that first lap, he should have been taking the lead. And I can't help but feel he just backed off. He didn't send it and go for it. I mean, even a Russell and I feel like a Russell and even a Danny Rick in his heyday would have done. And that's the one thing that was missing, I feel, from Leclerc this year, is that you're not going to get past me. I'm going to absolutely do my best to either pass you, stop getting past. There are times when Verstappen passed him and it looked too easy. But then again, Verstappen wasn't this monster that was the Red Bull. Still, the fastest guy this year, I feel, over one lap. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Charles Leclerc, fifth. So, in fourth position. Yep, we're getting near our podium now. Just off the podium, Fernando Alonso. I don't really want to say he reinvented his career, simply because we all knew he was good. But he showed us that he confirmed what everyone still thought is this guy is absolutely amazing. He had the second best car. He had 8 podiums throughout the year, and consistently at the beginning of the year, the only guy to put any kind of fight towards Max Verstappen. I think he led, what didn't he? I think he led Saudi Arabia for a bit after getting a better start. And had that car been as good as the Red Bull, he no doubt would have been, I feel, fighting for that potentially, fighting for that championship. He would have put up a better fight anyway than Sergio Perez had that Aston Martin been, just a few tenths faster, particularly at the beginning of the year in the race. But fantastic. Yes, we all want to talk about that Monaco Oh, Monaco, right? He could have won Monaco. Yeah, he could. He could have done. It's so sad he didn't. His driving. He did deserve a victory this year. Brilliant. Uh, Towards the end of the year, when the car wasn't doing so well, there were a few lapsed races, I feel, but still, absolutely solid. Oh, Fernando. Let's just hope next year that Aston Martin do an equally good job, and we have, uh, they're just as good as Red Bull, and that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? That would be a gift, manna. That would be manna. So, in third, our podium, it's going to be Lando Norris. Now, this guy was really close with number 2. You can probably guess who's number 2. So, yeah, he finished 6th. And he got a fastest lap, qualified 2nd, highest finished 2nd. The thing with Lando, the reason why he's not 2nd, and the other guy is, who I guess you probably know who is 2nd, is because I can't help but feel he should have had a pole. And there's potential there. I think his car and driver combination potentially could have got a lot, maybe a win, but a lot closer to a win. And the only thing that was holding him back was Lando Norris himself. Bit like Leclerc, when it came to that moment, you could get pole. And then, like in Mexico and Qatar, maybe be quick enough for the race. A la Piastri, he was quicker than Piastri in the Qatar race, which makes you wonder what could have been. But in that moment where you could have got pole, you could have started on the front row, you made a mistake. It happened in Abu Dhabi, it happened in Qatar, and Lando Norris is his own worst enemy. And he's also really hard on himself. And it's those moments where it was consistently happening, it just wasn't the one time, Like Michael Schumacher said, he allows himself one mistake every year. And you can't help but feel coulda, woulda, shoulda, what could have been with Lando Norris seems to like sum his season up, despite being, I feel, the 3rd best driver of the year. But he's still improving, just like like Max Verstappen was from his rookie year. He is still improving, and I think if McLaren continue improving, Lando Norris in 2024 is going to be a force to reckon with, and may well be the best driver. We could be talking about him of being the best driver of 2024. So absolutely well done, Lando Norris. Absolutely fantastic. So next up we have number 2. No, it's not Max. It's going to be this man. He finished 3rd, I know, in the standings. He did have a chance of beating Sergio Perez. I don't feel his car was good enough, but Lewis Hamilton, he didn't get a win. He got quite a few podiums. He got a pole at Hungary, and it wasn't even that, to his own mind, it wasn't that great, but he still got pole. And I in a car that I felt wasn't the fastest car in Hungary, and he showed us that he's still the Lewis Hamilton of old, albeit he was a bit anonymous at Abu Dhabi. But that one big mistake, I think in Qatar, when he tried to go around the outside, he still gives it a go, doesn't he? He ended up having a bit of a crash, and threw any chance of winning a race away. Yes, he didn't win a race. He hasn't won a race though since 2021, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Yeah, Russell has. But I think this year he showed why he's Lewis Hamilton and why George Russell is George Russell. George Russell still has time to improve. Once again, give this guy a championship winning car. He's winning a championship. He's up there. He's up there. He's still up there with the best. Give him Mercedes next year. Give him the best car next year. He's winning. Give him an equal car next year. We're going to have a really exciting championship between him, for example, and Red Bull or any other. But I think if you want a performance on the day where you have to go for the win, I still think you choose Lewis Hamilton over any other driver on that grid. The reason why, if you want to know, because he didn't have, let's be honest, that car, overall, I don't think you can even say that car was the 2nd best car overall for the season, because there were times that Aston Martin, McLaren and Ferrari were faster, but he got more, I think, out of his package than anyone else. He's more consistent, particularly in the races. Qualifying was a weakness than anyone else, barring our number 1 pick. And I don't think there's going to be any surprises, is there? So, surprise. Who is our number 1 pick? Well, it's the world champion and one of the most dominant years in Formula 1 ever, Max Verstappen. first in the standings, first in our standings, 19 wins, 12 poles, 9 fastest laps, best qualifying obviously first, best highest finish first, won loads of sprint races as well. This guy was absolutely dominant, so dominant that we did a Max Verstappen appreciation video. What more is there to say about him? Almost perfection for this season was Max Verstappen. So a massive congratulations to Max Verstappen. He's up there with the absolute best. And I can just say, go watch our Max Verstappen appreciation video. This guy was amazing this year. No one could touch him in the Red Bull. Maybe, there could be an argument that because he had Sergio Perez, but I think there's not many drivers, maybe 2 or 3 that would have come close this year in the same car. Absolute domination to the point where I don't think he was even doing full bananas on some of his race wins. Such was his advantage, and the Red Bull. He got the best out of the package. And even if you dominate a race, it's still easy to make a mistake. 1988, Senna was dominating, I think, was it the Monaco Grand Prix, and he made a mistake, which is easy to do. Senna, one of the best drivers ever, and went into the wall. So, there you go. Max Verstappen, absolute domination. What is going to happen next year? I have no idea. Let's just hope the other teams catch up. But it's going to be tough to beat him. He's going to be full of confidence. It's going to be really interesting. I just want to say congratulations to Max Verstappen. Absolutely a fantastic year. Anyway, this has been the Hot Lap. That was our 2023 best drivers of the year, from worst to best. Well done, Max Verstappen. Not so much for Logan Sargent, Nick De Vries, Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez. I think needs improving, I think, for at least 3 of the 4 of them for next year. We will speak to you again. Thank you very much.